All right, everybody, you're not going to hear it here on YouTube, but if you are listening to the podcast feed, the iconic voice of Esther Lynn welcomes you to a brand new edition of Between the Links. Hope everyone's having a great week. There's no grandiose entrance to the program. There's no Casey. There's no bells and whistles. We're just going to basically hit record and have a program. And I am not alone here because, as Sean Al-Shadi just said in our little Slack room, apparently I'm trying to break up the No Bets Barred boys before week 3 of their actual program. So let us welcome in the co-hosts of MMA Fighting's new gambling podcast. We have Jed Meshew in the middle square here. You're like, it's like Hollywood Square, center square.
Ooh,
What's
that's
up,
the
buddy?
good center square is the good square. That's the A#1 square. So that's
right.
fantastic and deserved. No disrespect to Connor, but you know, he's new on these streets. I run these streets.
So how's it going, my man?
It's good. You know, we dropped a new edition of the pod yesterday. I'm at a neighbor's house. Their dogs are getting very involved in my life. So it's good. Good, solid day.
That's great. And let us introduce the other half of the No Bets Barred team. You also may know him from the MMA Hour, the producer extraordinaire, another Georgia native. Let us say hello to Connor Burks, GC, making his second appearance on BTL. What's up, buddy?
Yeah, man, I'm happy to be here. It's unfortunate that I'm going against Jed. I was fully expecting Jose Youngs, but last minute pullout for the money fight that he's been calling for who knows how long, and now he puts me against my own teammate and Jed. I mean, this is a classless move by Jose.
Apparently, he is traveling to Las Vegas right now. He will be on the scene for UFC Vegas 54, which we're going to talk about in a little while from now. So at this point, I literally have no idea what we're going to do. I don't know if we're going to – I'll leave it up to the peeps. Do we want to do some sort of contest? Do we want to turn this into an actual matchup? Or do we want to just round table this thing and just run our mouths and talk about the topic? So we'll let the people decide. You know what? It's a friendly rivalry. There's no titles on the line. Let's just have a contest, gentlemen. Let's just see who the better man is. GC versus Jed Meshew. And let me do the production thing here. Here we go. Opening question. There's a lot going on coming out of UFC 274 this past Saturday. There are so many storylines. Most of them take place at the top of this card because Charles Oliveira, what a wild weekend it was. Friday, steps on the scale. He's 155.5, has an hour to cut an extra half a pound. Steps on the scale an hour later, still 155.5. And because of that, he is stripped of his UFC lightweight title. And then he goes in and fights Justin Gaethje on Saturday, puts it to him, drops him, chokes him, submits him, wins the fight, but does not leave Phoenix, Arizona with the lightweight title. This was just a crazy 24 to 48 hours for one Do Bronx Oliveira. So Jed, let's start with you. I know you were on the People's Pre-Fight show. You were on the Post-Fight show. So we heard your thoughts on this, but since then, we've had 5 days pass. So just the vacation of the title, the stripping, the half a pound, all of this, because there's no gray area here. People either think this is just the dumbest thing ever, or this is, hey, the rules state if you miss weight for a championship fight, even by 0.5 pounds, you're no longer the champion. You get stripped of the title. So what's your thoughts on it 5 days later? Is this dumb or is this the right thing to do?
Well, it's hard to tell how you feel about it with that scathing impersonation. You've been listening to Ariel, I see. Well, look, I'm in that camp. Look, Mike, I didn't get to the place I am in my life by changing my opinion. I had an opinion and I'm going to stick to it. Rules is rules, and it may be stupid, but you know what else is stupid? Not doing your damn job. Your job is to make weight. He was given an extra hour and couldn't do it, and just do it. You know, like Ronnie Lott cut off a finger so he could go play in the NFL. Chucky Olives doesn't feel like doing that. He's not committed to the title. That's all I'm hearing from this. A half pound. You say, well, it's only a half pound. I say, well, it's only a half pound. Suck it up and spit it out. Like, let's do your damn job. Get your full paycheck, keep your belt, and we're not in this situation. But it would be ridiculous for the UFC to just be like, this doesn't matter, because then that's setting a terrible precedent moving forward for anybody. ever to just be like, the weight doesn't matter. I'm the champion. I'm going to win. And what are they going to do? I'm not going to fight for the belt next. No. So this is it. I'm sorry that people don't like the rules, but the rules are very clear.
So let me ask you, Jed, in your mind right now, is Charles Oliveira the lightweight champion?
No,
Not at all. Not even like
no.
ostensibly. You don't consider him the best lightweight in the world, the king without a crown at all?
Sure, he's the best lightweight in the world, but one, and I in general think that that's Islam Makhachev, but I'm freely willing to say that if you're basing it on merit, it's Charles Oliveira. But no, he is not he is the best lightweight in the world by merit, but he is not the champion because that's how things work. Like this is just very easy. This is an extremely not difficult question. And the people who want it to be some other way mostly just want to feel better about, Charles Oliveira blowing weight, which really should take you down a much better rabbit hole of why the hell do we care about weight classes in general? Because that's a much, much better conversation. But since we decided we do, a half pound is the same as 5 pounds for these purposes.
Which is interesting, GC, because we had other lightweights on the card. Most of them weighed in over 155. All of them were able to compete on Saturday. None of them lost a dime, unless we're talking about like show and win money, and that's a whole another conversation for another podcast. But Charles Oliveira misses weight by a half pound, but ostensibly, if you look at it in context, Charles Oliveira, this is 3 fights ago, he didn't miss weight. Misses weight here, stripped of the title, goes out, beats Justin Gaethje, tremendous performance, and he's no longer the champion. Your reaction to this 5 days later, is this dumb or is everybody correct here in the way this worked out?
Yeah, as much as I hate to say it, I actually I agree with Jed in the point that this is how it works. I mean, these are the rules. Like, he did miss weight. I won't go as far to say, like, do your damn job, because he did miss it by a half point, focus more on the weight process. He obviously was doing that. He came up a half pound short, though. And that's the rules. Whether you want to change the rules moving forward to give the half pound the pound of grace in championship fights as well, that's an entirely different conversation. But as far as it goes for him losing the title, I think the rules are the rules and you have to follow those. But I do disagree with Jed. In my eyes, Charles Oliveira is the lightweight champion. I mean, he went in. A half pound on the scales does not give him a huge advantage. It doesn't even give him any different sort of advantage over Justin Gaethje. He goes out, he finishes him in the first round. And now the next time that he will fight, if he wins, the belt will be around his waist. If he loses, obviously it will not be. So in my eyes, as much as it sucks for him, the money, everything like that, I still see him as the lightweight champion. That's how I'll call him moving forward until someone beats him.
If it doesn't give him an advantage, then why do we give a shit about it?
I don't know, actually. Like, that's a great point. Like, what?
I think that's fair. If that's your line, that's fair.
Like, do you think if he weighed 155, he's not choking Justin Gaethje out?
No, I also don't think if he weighed 170, it matters. I have been on the record for years that I don't give 2 tugs of a dog's tail about weight. Like, that it just does not matter to me, because that's not how the real world works. You're not like, I can't get in a street fight with that dude. He weighs 6 pounds more than me. That's unfair. It's not how gyms work. If you go in, it's not like, I can't roll with that dude. He's a 170er. I weigh 165. I don't care about weight, but I just want everyone to have the same energy, because a lot of people who, if this weren't this scenario, would be like, well, Norma Dumont got a wildly unfair advantage by missing weight, or whatever dumb garbage that is. So if you're uniform in it, that's fine. Totally respect your opinion, but don't come at me with, well, it's a half pound, it doesn't matter. But if it was 2 pounds, stop the presses. This cannot exist. This is damaging to the health of the sport. It's all ridiculous.
That's a fair point. I guess at the end of the day, though, Mike asked me if I thought it was dumb, and I guess I do think it's dumb that he lost the belt over a half pound and then went out and beat Justin Gaethje in the first round.
I also think it's dumb, because,
so again,
he should have sucked it up and spit out half a pound of weight.
Dude, I can't
shave his head
saying that. Like,
I can shave your head. Do your job. You contracted to do it. You had an extra hour and you weighed the same.
The blonde looks so good. You can't shave the hair. Come on. I guess the gold looks better around your belt, though.
I mean, you're right. You don't have to do it, but you also just kind of got to live with not being the champion if you don't want to do that.
Jed, what's the bigger mystery? What did Charles Oliveira do in that 1 hour, or where was Dana White during the main event of UFC 270?
Ooh. I think it is really what did Charles Oliveira do, because I just have no idea what he did for an hour that was not to cut more weight. Like I can't even imagine. Feel like he must have just gone and like sat on the couch and been like, yeah, fuck it. They're not going to do anything to me. But obviously he was wrong. So I think that one, but there are a lot of great unsolved mysteries in MMA. What Dana White does during main events is certainly one of them.
Especially like that particular main event, and why he didn't wrap the belt around Francis Ngannou's waist.
Was there a reason? Do you feel like he wasn't a fan of Francis at that moment in time, or just totally just happened to not? He had an important business call, urgent business popped up.
Urgent business, more urgent than the heavyweight title in your own promotion.
It is. It's like that scene in Game of Thrones when Joffrey's called away by his mother during Blackwater. Does she have urgent business for me? Well, I'll go see to that.
So, I mean, apparently there's a poll in here. I assume AK is watching somewhere, because I did not create this poll. In your mind, is Charles Oliveira currently the UFC lightweight champion? By the way, whoever is creating these polls, make sure we create a poll on who's winning this matchup between Jed and GC. That would be lovely. Whoever's running the polls, please do that. So now, GC, as strange as this is, as kind of dumb as this is, and I understand the rules behind it, lightweight just actually becomes a little more interesting, because now we have a conversation. Charles Oliveira, not the champion, but he is going to fight for the vacant title that he lost right as his fight with Justin Gaethje started. And the question is, because a lot of names have been thrown around here, who is this man going to fight? Do we split up the matchup between Islam Makhachev and Beneil Dariush as one of those two guys? Do we try to make sure those two guys still fight potentially in October, even though the fight is not done? Do we bring in somebody else? Do we do Chandler? Will Connor sneak in here? Will they go outside of the box? So what do you think happens? Not what should happen. What is going to happen in your mind? Charles Oliveira versus question mark. Who's the question mark?
Yeah, I mean, this is the biggest no-brainer for me. I'm glad I'm getting to go first on this. I mean, it's Islam Makhachev, without a shadow of a doubt in my mind. 10-fight win streak in the UFC. That's the 13th longest in UFC history, 4th longest active. Everyone ahead of him is a UFC champion. He fought 4 times over the span of 12 months, March 21 to February 22. Won all 4 times by finish. He's just dominating everyone. The guy's 22-1. No one has ever landed more than 13 strikes on him in his UFC career. I mean, he's the 3rd ranked lightweight, I guess 4th now because Charles lost the belt. Poirier, Gaethje, and Chandler, 2, 3, and 5, have all tried at Charles. They all lost by finish. So I just don't know who else it would be. I mean, it's got to be Islam. You know, a lot of people, no, Islam needs to be a top 5 opponent. Everyone's saying now beating Bobby Green and Dan Hooker gets you a title shot. No, but winning 10 straight fights in the UFC does. And I guess if you want to make the argument, beating Dan Hooker does get you a title shot. Go talk to Michael Chandler.
Exactly that.
In my opinion, this one is a no-brainer. You give it to Islam Makhachev.
Jed, I think, listen, you have been saying for a long time that you believe Islam Makhachev's the best lightweight in the world. Does he get his chance to prove it? Maybe he should, but will he, Jed? Because you've been singing a whole different tune for a while. Are you sticking with it?
Sure am. Islam is the best lightweight in the world. I feel extremely confident in that. And when he does finally get his shot, he is going to convert and be the champion. He's not going to get it next because either Islam or someone who theoretically manages many fighters and would thus manage their social media accounts started talking out their rear about wanting that smoke on short notice against RDA. And then when they actually talked to Islam, was like, no, I just fought. I can't make the weight in 3 days, you losers. And talked himself out of getting a title fight. So the UFC are bitter people. And they are not going to give him one, even though they absolutely should. And especially not going to give him one because Connor's pretty close to back. And as much as Connor has been talking all that nonsense about moving up to welterweight, I think the reality is that's a really tough to sell in any world where there's a semblance of meritocracy. And I think the UFC kind of wants Conor Nate Diaz, but at some point they have to give up on the pipe dream that will not work for them and give Nate Diaz a fight against Michael Chandler and move on from that. And then you can just have Conor come in and fight Oliveira. Oliveira called him out after the win. The translator basically misquoted him, but Conor's still the name that's going to draw. Oliveira's going to want it. Conor will want it. It's theoretically a winnable fight for him, though very likely not actually. And that's just the fight that's going to happen. Follow the money, and that's the most money right now.
I do want to bring this up before we move on, because we are not dedicating an entire round to Carla Esparza defeating Rose Namajunas, but I think there's been a lot of talk about GC. You obviously were there. Jed, you probably heard it, and I think a lot of people watching right now are all familiar with this. Rose Namajunas and Pat Barry were on the MMA Hour, and it was a very interesting interview. It was a very interesting look at the fight and a very interesting look at the reaction after the fact. So, GC, just you being there, hearing this interview, hearing the thoughts from both of these individuals with Ariel, what was your reaction to this? To Rose, to Pat Barry, to all of it?
I mean, it was strange. Like it was a very strange interview. Pat Barry is incredibly long-winded. He talked in circles pretty much the entire time, repeating the same thing over and over. And I mean, it obviously everything he was saying just comes from a hugely biased point of view. Like he is the significant other to the losing fighter in that matchup. So of course he's going to believe everything that he's saying. I mean, in my opinion, that fight was a draw. I don't think you can make an incredibly strong argument either way for either fighter winning. I thought his corner work was atrocious. The fact that he was saying she was up 4-0 when on one judge's scorecard, she was actually down 4-0. So I didn't learn much from the interview at all. I, was a little bit taken aback by it, just how strange, not only Pat, but I mean, Rose came off as well. And I'm having a hard time like separating Rose from Pat Barry in this circumstance. And Rose is one of my favorite fighters. So, yeah, it was a strange hour to say the least.
Jed, your thoughts on this interview that seems to have the MMA community talking right now?
I will be honest, I mostly tried not to listen to it. I don't have a great deal of support in my heart for Pat Barry. But from kind of reading the story on MMAfighting.com, the world's greatest website, you should go check it out.
Great website.
It's a great website. It seemed very rambly, extremely long-winded. There were like 2 points that he made in all of the speaking that he did, and they were awful bad. Like they were just bad points. So it's like, if you take him at face value, and great, Rose did exactly what we wanted. We executed the perfect game plan. Cool. You should never coach anyone ever again if that's what happened, because your game plan was atrocious. And like, again, I am not a professional fighter nor coach, but I can say confidently that it was a really bad game plan. And so could anyone with a basic understanding of combat. And so if I, the big dumb idiot that I am, can look at that and say, that was dumb, you probably shouldn't be saying how brilliant you are for that. That's just not a good look, my guy. Honestly, the person I would be the most interested to hear from is Trevor Whitman about this, because we talked about it in the post show. I felt like Whitman knew bad things were happening, but because of his position in the corner and his relationship with Rose and sort of who Rose is as a fighter, he couldn't yell at her and be like, hey, you have to go fight now. So he was trying to kind of coax her into doing more, while Pat was saying, you do it great. You're winning every round. Great job. So I would be really fascinated to see what Trevor Whitman has to say if he would speak on the topic. But for me, this is just like, I would have. The thing about a fight like that is you don't have that fight. And like, you have that fight because you're trying to have that fight. You can accidentally fist fight people harder than Rose and Carla did. Like, so it was clearly intentional. And if you're doing that intentionally, you think you're the smartest person in the room. And usually when you think you're the smartest person in the room, it's really hard to tell when you're actually just doing something objectively stupid. And that's what I feel happened. And I don't feel that they have honestly accurately processed that loss. I think that, maybe with more time, they'll say, well, maybe we should have done a little bit more to make it more clear. But I haven't heard a lot of things post-fight from either Rose or Pat Barry that have been like, man, losing the title should have been a wake-up call that we fundamentally screwed up here. Instead, I'm hearing a lot of equivocating. And so that's not great, but it also might not matter because Rose is incredibly talented, and I would be honestly a little bit shocked if she didn't get the belt back at some point in the future.
I also, just a quick point, I also thought it was really strange how he kept referencing back to they told Rose to ditch the game plan, and she was like, oh, no, like, you're not going to fool me. Like, I'm like, it's so ingrained in my brain to not ditch this game plan. Like, I just feel like that's a bad coaching strategy if your athlete isn't adhering to your advice when you're telling them to ditch the game plan. I don't know. I just felt that point was also very strange from Pat Barry.
I think the entire fight, everything about it was very weird, but we also have to give credit where it's due to Carla Esparza because
we do not.
I mean, listen, she
I
won the fight.
She did, but you don't look very clearly. You cannot give her credit for this. She won, and that's great, but it's the same thing as going all in pre-flop with 7 deuce and you hit. Cool, it worked out for you, but the result and the process were not related in any capacity.
She won the belt off of going 2 for 11 on takedowns and landing 30 strikes over 25 minutes. Like,
but that was probably the only chance she was going to win the fight, though, if we're being honest. That was probably her best chance to win. And she basically, she fought to win. Honestly, that was her best path to victory. As boring as it might have been, it was one of her paths to victory.
But it was just so unsuccessful. I think that's why it bothers me.
I refuse to give her credit for also not fighting. Neither woman engaged. She engaged slightly more, and that is why she won. And so you can give her the barest amount of credit you can give a human being because she tried a little, whereas Rose actively did not try. But again, I am not, because at the end of the day, if she had lost that fight, I would be, I can't speak for anyone else, I would be excoriating her that this is her last opportunity for the belt, and that's how she fights. The last chance she will get in her entire career to fight for the title, which I think we all would have agreed on. And if the judges had given it to Rose, you couldn't have been mad. Nobody could have been like, that is a robbery.
I scored it for Rose.
That's the thing. Like, you could not be mad. And so I refuse to give Carla credit because the outcome worked for her, because with 2 different judges in there, she could have easily lost the title or not won the title in her last fight and put up the world's biggest dud. Like, that is both women deserve 0 points and 0 credit for what happened Saturday. And that may be harsh, but I honestly think it's totally justified.
The master of polls has a new one up there. Who should challenge Charles Oliveira next? Islam, Dariush, Connor, Chandler. Islam 60%, Dariush 16%, Connor 19%, Michael Chandler at 6%. But Michael Chandler might have been the star of the night, might have been the star of the week, and that's where we're going next, or at least one half of the conversation. But the point for round one,
I forgot Jed hates Mike Chandler.
Well,
wait a minute. You missed the
anymore.
breaking news. You missed the breaking
I
news.
do hate that 6% of people think he should fight for the belt. That's really stupid, but okay.
There's a difference between should and who will. So maybe they're reading it as will. I don't know. I think Chandler has a pretty good shot of getting that fight just because of the steam he has right now, which is, I get it, Jed. I know where you're coming from. But the point for round one goes to GC's on the board. It is 1-0. Cue the music, which you'll hear on the podcast network. You get nothing here.
That was a good drum roll.
Yeah, I don't even know what that was.
I'm surprised that was all one round.
I know. Crazy. So let's go to round 2. Look at that. I don't even have to think about what the round is. The banner gods have come through. Michael Chandler and Tony Ferguson had themselves a nice little battle on Saturday in Phoenix, Arizona. Tony Ferguson was looking very Tony Ferguson-esque. Hurt Chandler in the first. Then Chandler got a takedown, and while El Kakui's on his back, he's throwing elbows. He's slicing and dicing. Both guys are bloody. Then we head to the second round, and boy, oh boy, did Michael Chandler come through with one of the all-time great knockouts, front kick up the middle, more like a Tommy Tupa punt that went 75 yards down the field. It was absolutely wild. Ferguson seems to be okay. Michael Chandler gets a massive win. What an investment this man has been, Jed Meshew. For those who missed it, a lot of people have watched this program, have listened to this program over the last couple of years. They have heard your opinions on Michael Chandler, and maybe some people were not up at 5 a.m. on Sunday morning watching your take on Michael Chandler. So what would you like to say for those who missed it?
He doesn't suck. And it hurts me to say, because I have said loudly and repeatedly and for the better part of a year that Michael Chandler sucks, because he did and he does, but he doesn't. And so it's weird because he sucks, but he doesn't suck. It's hard to deny him at this point, because here's the thing about Michael Chandler. He came to the UFC, and for as much as he had this hype about being a 3-time Bellator champion, nobody actually cared to watch him fight. It's not like he was blowing the doors off of the ratings people come, in Bellator. One, it is Bellator, so it's tough. But he just had some snoozers. He lost to a lot of people who I would say are, elite fighters, but not A1 apex predators. And so then he came to the UFC, and great, he knocked out Dan Hooker, which I have a lot of respect for Dan Hooker, but that win has not aged all that well. And then I was like, yeah, so he still sucks. That's cool. This is a dude who got knocked out by a bantamweight. So he blows. And then he got a title shot, which rubbed me very wrong, because I maintained firmly that it was incredibly stupid that the UFC booked Charles Oliveira versus Michael Chandler for the vacant title, because booking the number 3 and number 4 at the time ranked lightweights for your vacant belt is, by definition, means it's not the 2 best guys in the division. So the champion can't be, but different thing. He lost that fight. It's hard to deny him, because he has decided that his self-preservation does not matter to him anymore. And that was the thing that, like, when the chips would be down with Chandler, he would just tackle you and sit on you, because he knew that winning mattered more than being exciting. He sort of has gotten away from that here. To an extent, when Tony Ferguson was kind of teeing off on him, he power doubled Tony and started elbowing him. But it's just, to continue saying he sucked would make me the most like transparent hater in the world. And so I just can't. Like, this dude has delivered 4 absolute bangers since joining the UFC. He is one of the top 10 lightweights in the world, arguably top 5, though I'm not sure that's true. And he doesn't suck. So, mea culpa. I was wrong. It happens occasionally.
What a moment. Now, if we can get you to turn around on Stipe, and
we cannot,
Brian Ortega, then we have done something here in the year of our Lord 2022. But that's going to take.
There's a better chance on Brian Ortega, but I don't even think that's
what is it
happen.
with Stipe?
Stipe sucks.
Right.
He's not very good, is what it is. He's like one of the best heavyweights, but heavyweight is bad, and he sucks. It just is what it is. Like,
GC, let us go over to you, because this knockout was incredible. It is the knockout of the year. No disrespect to Molly McCann, but I'm sorry, you've been uprooted. You are now in second place, and that's really good right now. 5 months into the calendar year, it's been a crazy year, but you're the silver medalist for knockout of the year, and that's pretty damn impressive. Where does Michael Chandler go now, GC? Because he was on the MMA Hour yesterday as well. He's got a lot of options. Maybe he slides into the title fight. I don't think he does, but maybe, because of the buzz and everything that's going on right now, maybe they slide him in and try to just put on an exciting fight. There's Connor. You could do Dustin Poirier, although he doesn't seem all that interested in Dustin Poirier. There's maybe Dariush or Islam or one of these guys. The options are plenty. He's in a really good spot for a guy who's 2-2 in the UFC. What do you think's next for Michael Chandler after this incredible knockout?
Yeah, I think he's in an incredible spot. You said it. This is going to be incredibly hard to top this knockout for knockout of the year. He's coming off the fight of the year last year with Gaethje. I think he has a ton of options, and I think all of those options will pay dividends for him. But personally, I don't think that Conor McGregor should get the title shot. He's been on the sidelines for too long. He's lost his last 2 fights. His last win was against Donald Cowboy Cerrone. I think Conor McGregor should return to face Michael Chandler. I think that could do giant numbers for the promotion. I think it would be an exciting fight. If it goes 5 rounds, I don't think it's going to see the scorecards. I think everybody would be hyped up for it. The dynamic of the trash talking of McGregor versus like the motivational speech of Chandler would just be such a hilarious dynamic between the two. I just don't know who would complain if they created that fight. I think a win for either of them would boost them right back into the title picture. So I think McGregor would be the perfect fight. But if McGregor's time frame doesn't work out, you mentioned Poirier. I know Chandler said he's not that interested, but I think that would be just as exciting of a matchup if they wanted to make that one happen if McGregor's timeline doesn't match up.
We also got Nate Diaz into this mix as well, but apparently Nate's out there in Vegas right now, urinating at the UFC PI, Jed Meshew. So I don't know if what do we do now with Michael Chandler? Because again, he's in a tremendous spot, even if he doesn't get a title fight here. What do you think's next for Iron Mike?
So here's the problem, right, Mike? Because I stand by what I said because I can't be a hater anymore. But I turned the corner. You know, you heard me on Saturday night or Sunday morning, I guess. I said Michael Chandler doesn't suck. And he comes out and he really tries hard to make me walk that back to sucking because Dustin Poirier would be a great fight. And he no-sells it for the dumbest reasons imaginable and counterproductive ones as well. Well, I want to get back to a title fight. Cool. I feel like fighting the number 2 ranked dude or 3, I don't remember what the UFC has him ranked, fighting and beating him, that's going to get you back to a title fight. Well, I don't have any, I disregard Dustin Poirier. Don't need Dustin Poirier. He was mean to me one time and I am a sad little snowflake with hurt feelings. And so I will not, because when I came to the UFC, he didn't want to fight me. Like,
wasn't he just chugging his hot sauce like 6 months ago?
I don't know. It was a super weird no sell from him to be like, I have no interest in fighting Poirier. And sure, I wouldn't have interest in fighting a dude who's probably going to beat my ass too. That seems like a bad choice. I would rather fight Nate Diaz. That makes a ton more sense for me. But, you know, that really rubbed me the wrong way. And it really made me think, man, I should still just be on the Michael Chandler sucks corner. But I think that fight would make a ton of sense. I think the fight that is going to happen, I think it's going to be Nate Diaz, though, because Nate is saying he'll take that fight. I think that fight makes a ton of sense for Chandler. I think that's a big enough fight that the UFC can finally pull their heads out of their asses and stop holding on to Nate Diaz like a feudal serf and let him be free. So I think that that's the fight that will happen. Also, because I hate Chandler McGregor. I think that fight makes a lot of sense for a number of reasons, but I think that's a bad fight for McGregor. He should not take that fight. And I think the UFC shouldn't want it because I don't feel like you're getting enough value from Conor McGregor getting tackled and sat on for however long, which is the most likely outcome there. So I think McGregor either gets a title fight or, depending on how high and low you want to go, you can do the Gaethje fight, which is a winnable fight and a banger of all bangers, or you can just, to answer the other half of this question, you can just end Tony Ferguson's career with one clean McGregor left hand. And then, because if you do that, if you're not putting McGregor back in a title fight and he fights Tony Ferguson and he knocks out Tony Ferguson, and you have Charles fight Islam, then you can very easily say, well, McGregor's back, put him in a title fight. He knocked out Tony Ferguson. That's good enough for us. Get him to the belt against Islam Makhachev, and we'll try and relive the Khabib Conor magic that is the biggest pay-per-view in the history of the sport.
All right, GC, your thoughts on what's next for Tony Ferguson? Because obviously tough loss, finished again. He's been on the wrong side of it for a little while. He finally won a round.
Let's go.
On all 3 judges' scorecards on Saturday against Michael Chandler. He's looking very good, and then we all know what happened. So what's next for Tony Ferguson?
An extended period away. I feel like after a knockout like that, you definitely need to take some time to recuperate a little bit. But when he does come back, I think he needs to step away from the top of the division. I mean, it has not been working out for him. He hasn't won since he fought Cowboy 3 years ago. I think with him coming back to lightweight, Dan Hooker would be a solid match for Tony Ferguson. Two fan favorites that have a lot of support behind them, that have been struggling lately, that have, both been finished pretty badly of late. And I think it would be an exciting matchup. Whoever wins gets to continue in the UFC. Whoever loses might be looking at retirement. But I think Tony Ferguson, Dan Hooker would be a solid matchup.
I like that fight. I like Bobby Green as a potential option. They want to do Jim Miller. That's a fine option. Those are the types of fights. Like if we're going to keep Tony Ferguson in the top 15, Dan Hooker, I think, is a fine fight. But the other ones I'm good with too. Just throw them in there. Some wily vets. We'll just have some fun fights, some scrambles, because I think we can all agree that as much as we love Tony Ferguson, as much as the fans respect and admire everything Tony Ferguson has done, I think we could all agree that his chances to become a UFC champion probably behind us at this point. But still, there's some...
Jed shaking his head. He wants to throw Tony Ferguson to the wolves here.
Go ahead, Jed.
I mean, well, one, I do, because I think that that's the best outcome. But also, like, you both are just not going to be right. And that's like, I agree. If we're trying to maintain Tony Ferguson as an ongoing entity in the UFC and the top of the division, and we're seeing a bright future for him that we want to build towards, you take a step back, you rebuild him up, you give him winnable fights. Tony Ferguson came out talking a whole lot of greasiness about the UFC the week before he got stone bolted by the foot of Michael Chandler. So this dude who's lost 4 in a row, hasn't won a fight in whatever it is, 3 years, and is on the wrong side of 35. Like this is the UFC is not going to be in the rehab Tony Ferguson at the fighter business. They're going to be squeeze the last amount of juice you can get from this dude business. And that is sacrificing him to Conor McGregor or Arman Sarukian or somebody else who is just going to run buck wild on him. And they're not going to do a Dan Hooker fight, which would be fun. Also, Hooker probably kills him at this point too. There's just, you guys are speaking as if we can save Tony, and we can't. He's done.
No one's saying that. No one's saying Tony.
You want him to fight Bobby Green and take steps back. That's
it. No, but that's where he is now. That's who he is. That's where Cerrone is. That's where Lozon is. These are the types of fights.
No, see, but Tony is 2 years behind the Cerrone schedule. Same schedule, but Cerrone is more washed and more defeated. Tony's got at least one more big win that his skull will provide to the fans, and it's going to be Conor or Arman Sarukian or somebody like that who's just going to kill him, and they're going to send him to the glue factory in the most violent of ways, because that's what they do. That's how this company works. It's how the sport works.
Do not put him in there with Arman Sarukian. Don't do it. Don't do it. Please don't. Please don't.
Why are you trying to build Sarukian up? I mean, it's bad.
You don't
for
really.
His
he's
health.
Building himself up right now.
Yeah, Sarukian's already got another fight, doesn't he?
He's got Mateusz Gamrot. If he beats Mateusz Gamrot, I mean, listen, he needs
the winner
rub.
Of that,
I get
just
it.
Killing Tony it's a good bump. It's a good bump. All I'm saying, I think Conor makes the most sense if they're not going to put Conor in a title fight. And if not, then you just give him to a young killer and we send him on his way and go out on your back. That is what this sport is built on.
Hey, listen, if they give him McGregor, I don't think he's going to be too upset about that one. So.
Oh, that's what he would take it instantly. And again, I think it's a really winnable fight for Conor. I thought it's a winnable fight for Conor for years. It's a really winnable fight now. And he beats Tony. Tony's still going to be hanging in the top 10. He beats Tony. They can easily justify a title shot off that.
Tony Ferguson versus future champion Arman Sarukian. Boy, oh boy, that one kind of hurts my feelings.
Is what's happening to Islam in this world where Arman wins the belt? Does he retire too?
I don't know. You have to do that rematch. It'll be massive. Makhachev, Sarukian 2, full camp, not a UFC debut. Or just remember the fits that Sarukian was giving that man in his debut fight. Come on now.
It will be massive.
It'll be
a stretch.
2 billion pay-per-view buys. No, it won't be massive, but we'll see. It'd be a very interesting way. All right. We move on to round 3. We'll move on to this weekend. The point for round 2 goes to Chad Meshew gets it done. It's 1-1. Nicely done. Distracted by the drum roll. Unbelievable. So there we go. Okay. I miss Casey. I miss his sound effects, so I don't have to provide them myself. Again, I have no idea who's putting these polls in the YouTube channel, but God bless whoever it is. And if we could put up one that says who is winning BTL,
yeah, let's get a winner one up
for?
here.
Jed, GC, put that in there.
I didn't come here for a no contest.
I command you. Yeah, we don't need any no contest. Otherwise, you're going to make me do it. I'm going to click the bad guy. So, 2 events coming up this weekend. We got Bellator 281, Jed Meshew, aka Showtime MMA 281, which will be headlined by an interim title fight between Michael Venom Page and Logan Storley. We got Paul Daly's retirement fight on this card as well. And then on Saturday, we got UFC Vegas 54, which will be headlined by the former champion Jan Blachowicz taking on Alexander Rakic. We got Ryan Spann versus Iwan Kutalaba in the second to last fight. And we got some other interesting fights that are kind of splooshed around the card as well. So, Jed, if you can only watch one of these events, which one are you watching?
Is this a joke? Come on. It's going to be, well, actually, I changed my mind. I was going, you were dead. Like, I was correct, except for I forgot that the UFC did this stupid thing where they start the event at like midnight or some dumb hour. So it'll be on. So it'll be on forever and ever. Even though it's only 11 fights, and Bellator's on Friday and will be, it's in Europe, so it'll be at least done quickly. So if I can only watch one, I'll pick that one because the rest of my life will prefer that, my sleep schedule, etc. But if we're talking about the quality of the cards, I mean, the Bellator card's not the worst card they've ever put together. It's better than a lot of their frequent events, but I don't have a lot of interest or care about Lyoto Machida fighting in the year of our Lord 2022. That's just not something that I'm standing up and saying, hell yeah, I got to tune in. Also, watching Logan Storley sit on a grown man for 25 minutes is not the most entertaining thing in the world. I mean, the rest of that card, Daniel Weichel, Robert Whiteford's a pretty good fight, but other than that, it's whatever. But the UFC card's pretty good. It's not the best, and I'm sure AK would say that this is not a co-main event. This is a penultimate fight, but top to bottom, I'm actually pretty interested in most of these matchups on the UFC card. Even some of these prospects, Jake Hadley, this is a guy with a lot of hype. Let's see what he's about. Returning light heavyweight champion, fighting a guy who should be undefeated and a much bigger deal in the division. It's just pretty well made fight card. So if this fight card was happening at a reasonable hour, this would be one of the better offerings the UFC's given us of late.
Connor, what do you think? You can only watch one. You got the rest of the weekend to do whatever Connor Burks does on the weekend outside of watching MMA. Which card are you watching and why?
I don't know, man. This is actually a tougher choice than Jed at first said. I mean, the biggest draw to me for 281 is the fact that it's going to be in London and it's going to be in front of fans in London, and they have an Englishman fighting for an interim title. Unfortunately, Amasov is not on the card, who I think he would have walked through Michael Venom Page. But I'm kind of with Jed. The rest of the card does not really interest me that much. The Paul Daly retirement fight, sure, I'll tune in, but it's not must-watch television for me. UFC Vegas 54, we're at least getting essentially a title eliminator for the light heavyweight division between Blachowicz and Rakic. And there are other fights that I'm interested in seeing. Davey Grant, I want to watch him fight against Luis Smolka. Chukagian, Hebas. I'm going to go with UFC Vegas 54, despite the time, starting at 7:30 Eastern.
Jed, we mentioned some of the bigger fights. What's the under the radar banger here, Jed? What's the one? What's the one that could steal the weekend in your eyes?
Ooh, steal the weekend is tough. Because I do think Luis Smolka, Davey Grant's probably like getting the most hype on the UFC card. Maybe, yeah, I think we got to go Tatsuya Taira. Making his UFC debut against Carlos Candelario. Flyweights, there's going to be a lot of quick, fast action, some grapples, some punches. It's probably going to be one of the better fights of the whole weekend, and not a single person I know is talking about it. So, there's that.
GC, what's yours? Under the radar, potential show stealer that just could surprise some folks.
Nick Maximov, Andre Petrosky. No, I'm only kidding. Let's go to Bellator 281, actually. My guy, Luke Trainer, the gent, is going at it. Huge knockout power, also has submission specialties. He's actually someone I'm looking forward to watching, too, in Bellator. If you want to talk flying under the radar, that fight is flying under the radar. So I will go with Luke Trainer. I think it's Bai Young is the guy he's fighting in Bellator 281.
I actually like this Bellator card. Like, I know it's not screaming star power, but I actually think it's with the atmosphere and some of the matchups. I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Paige Storley is kind of interesting. Like, can Paige keep this on the feet?
He
not
cannot.
get taken down. It's going to be tough. But again, he was preparing for a much different, probably much more difficult stylistic wrestler in Yaroslav Amosov. I thought Michael Page's approach to this fight's kind of interesting by saying that if he wins, he feels he's the champion and he will give Amosov basically the first title shot when Amosov's ready to come back, which don't necessarily agree with that take. But Paul Daly's final fight, that'll be a cool moment, especially goes out and wins. He's got a tough one ahead of him. And then the UFC fight, the UFC card, I love the Araujo Andrea Lee fight. That is a super interesting matchup. I feel like Andrea Lee is still being kind of slept on here. I understand. It's an interesting stylistic matchup. But Viviane Araujo, when she gets in these, outside of Roxanne Modafferi, of course, when she gets in these spots to try to take that next step, just doesn't really go well for her. So we'll see what happens. Both cards are interesting in their own ways. But yes, I wish the UFC card was one of those typical fight night ones that start at 4 Eastern.
I gotten used to that.
7:30 Eastern.
We got spoiled with that. It's so nice.
I know. Yeah. Someone's wondering if that's sweat. It's not sweat. It's just shine.
Is it cooking oil?
a little Pam on top of the dome.
That'd be a good call. Give it a nice shine.
Yeah, a little sweet cooking oil. So, all right, that's round 3. Bellator 281 tomorrow. UFC Vegas 54 on Saturday. Point for round 3 goes to Dead Meshew.
Wow.
Hey,
I got to play the comeback game here.
That's now an engine revving. That wasn't a drum roll.
That's right. It's the WD-40 coming out on top of the head and getting me all revved up. So, all right, let's pull up the banner here. God, I miss Casey. All right.
You're doing great, though, Mike.
I'm trying to multitask and make this happen without any sounds or music or anything like that. So on Saturday, we saw this incredible Israel Adesanya promo to announce that he will be fighting Jared Cannonier in the main event of UFC 276, which is going down July 2nd in Las Vegas. That will be the capper of International Fight Week. This could be a very big deal for the company. And I was actually kind of surprised at the way they rolled this out. And I'm surprised they actually listened to Israel Adesanya, because the last time they announced an Israel Adesanya fight, it was the Robert Whittaker rematch, and he had not even signed yet. In fact, he went on Twitter and said it was a bunch of BS. But Adesanya, when asked about that heading into the Whittaker fight, was like, you don't just drop one of my fights by putting a graphic on the screen. You got to roll this thing out. You got to make it a big deal. And they turned this into a WWF 1990s vignette. Like, they were introducing Adesanya to the world. And then they announced that he's fighting Jared Cannonier. So on top of that, we had already confirmed that Alexander Volkanovski, Max Holloway 3 for the featherweight title will be the co-main event. Sean Strickland versus Alex Pereira, and on we go. GC, we'll begin with you. You got to see the 10-fight slate on paper during the broadcast on Saturday. How would you grade it for an International Fight Week extravaganza type of card?
Yeah, I'm going to give it an A. I would give it an A+, but you can always leave some room for improvement. I think Izzy Cannonier, I think Izzy's going to win, but if you look at Cannonier, 5 of his last 6 wins are by knockout, so I at least think he's going to bring the fight to Izzy. He's going to try and finish it, which I just think will make for an exciting fight. Obviously, the co-main with Volkanovski and Holloway 3, I don't know who doesn't want to see that. The quick turnaround for Volkanovski, it should be a tremendous fight. And then you have, lower key ones that are incredibly interesting. Alex Pereira, Sean Strickland. They're clearly trying to rush Pereira along, trying to get that third fight with Israel Adesanya. Obviously, my guy, the Sugar Show, trying to make it 16-0, getting a top 10 opponent. Dricus Du Plessis, 2 guys. Dricus Du Plessis, an up-and-coming knockout artist, one of the most exciting guys on the card. On the flip side, up-and-coming submission artist, and Andre Muniz, I can't wait to see both of them fight. I expect both of their fights to end in finishes. And then a vet battle with Robbie Lawler and Brian Barberena. I mean, I am very excited for this card. It has potential to be the card of the year if the fights go well. So I give him an A, man. I'm very excited for July 2nd.
Jay, we also have Miesha Tate, Lauren Murphy on this card. Brad Tavares, Dricus Duplessis, Jessica Rose Clark, Julia Stolyarenko. That's one that was not on the graphic, but that is happening on that card. Andre Muniz fighting Uriah Hall. We get Jessica I, Macy Barber, Lawler Barberena, and then the 2 title fights, at least for now. We still got 3 or 4 glaring spots left on this card that could fill it up. So what do you grade it now? And I'll save the second part of the question for later, but how do you grade it right now as it stands?
It's an A+. I mean, this is what you hope for. And this is what you expect, especially for their kind of marquee event. Obviously, International Fight Week is always a really big one for the UFC every year. They try and go, above and beyond. They brought Brock back to do it. It's just sort of how that thing goes. They're just really keyed in, and this is what you expect, and they're delivering. I mean, 2 title fights. I'm less confident that Adesanya Cannonier is going to be fun. I think that could look a lot like a staring match for long periods of time. But that's still A+ peak middleweight fighting. Strickland Bahia, the winner of that, is probably going to cut a promo on Israel Adesanya and probably fight him next. Volkanovski, Max Holloway, we've talked about it a ton. That's as good as fist fighting gets. And even if I feel extremely confident in the outcome, I'll watch them fight 100 times because that is the absolute pinnacle of this sport. And then everything else is good. Sean O'Malley is getting an opportunity to fight a top tier guy, even though he said for years he doesn't want to fight anybody in the rankings. Muniz and Duplessis, up and coming middleweights. Everything's great. Lawler Barberena is going to be a banger. This is A++. There's nothing wrong with this card. The only thing we have to hope is that it maintains this moving forward, because there's a lot of time, a lot of real estate between now and July. And, this is MMA. Things change all the time. But this is one of those cards where even if 2 of these fights drop off or have to get moved or something, there's the bulk of it is so strong that the card is still going to be fine regardless.
Okay, so at least to me, this main event has a lot of stakes to it. And this is what I would want. This is what I want to see if it's possible, because I feel like if you could do it, I feel like now's the time with the way that the lightweight division looks, right? If Volkanovski beats Holloway again, let's just say he wins, it's convincing. There's no sort of argument, no discussion, no robbery talk, none of that. He wins a convincing decision, or he goes out there and finishes Max Holloway. Ben Meshew, is he in this conversation to fight Charles Oliveira at all? Because I kind of want to see that fight, because look at the featherweight division right now. You got Calvin Kattar, Josh Emmett. That's probably the next guy in line. There's talks about Yair Rodriguez fighting Brian Ortega. There's other guys coming up right now. In a year or so, maybe 18 months, featherweight's going to be a real interesting thing. It's very deep. There's guys like in the top 25 right now who are not ranked, who are really good. But right now, Volkanovski's either fought or beat all these guys, or guys just aren't on like interesting enough streaks to be like, oh, this guy, like, I really think he has a really good chance to beat Volkanovski. Volkanovski has talked about wanting to go to 155, and Dana White said on Saturday, if Volkanovski decides that he wants to move up, he's getting an immediate title shot. So is there a chance that with a win on July 2nd for Volkanovski, he is in this conversation to fight Charles Oliveira for the vacant title?
No. Oh, there's a chance, but I really hope it's not the case, because it would be very, very stupid. I love Alexander Volkanovski. I think he's one of the 5 best fighters in the world, full stop. And I think he would have a really good chance to be very competitive at lightweight, though I do have a lot of questions about how much that size difference would affect him, because I think it would be pretty substantial in some of these fights. But the biggest reason I'm saying no is it's not like the lightweight title is super clear right now. So adding Volkanovski, who, as good as he is, nobody really cares about. Like, I'm sorry, we just be honest. He is not an enormous draw. And so there's not a huge impetus to be like, all right, let's move him up here because it's going to do big business. It's a great fight, very competitive. There's a story to tell, but it's not the same as, when Connor moved up, and this is inevitable. And we just kind of have to go with the flow of the money here because lightweight is such a fuster right now. Like you just can't, I just feel like you can't do it. Even if he comes and beats Max Holloway again, which again, I'm confident he will do, but that is by no way guaranteed. But then putting him up there is like, all right, well, you've got Islam Makhachev now again, just sort of be sitting around. He's fighting Beneil Dariush, and then you still have Connor, who's going to be trying to fight for the title. It muddles lightweight so much, and that's the best division in the sport. You don't need to muddle it because he deserves to fight for the lightweight title if he moves up. He also doesn't deserve to get to move up, if that makes sense. Like Jose Aldo didn't get the chance to move up and win the lightweight belt, which he damn sure would have during his peak years because he just had to fight dudes. For as much as you want to say, well, the other guys in the featherweight division haven't established themselves as like interesting contenders, that's just how the sport works. Like you just pick the best guy who's available. Every long reigning champion has done that. Was Patrick Cote, were people hanging off the rafters screaming for Patrick Cote to get a crack at Anderson? No, but he was the next dude up because you defend your belt. And for as much as Volkanovski has said, I want to be a guy who defends my belt, he fought 3 different dudes, Max, Brian Ortega, both good, and then Chan Sung Jung, which is, love Korean Zombie. That win is probably not as impressive as it feels like right now, right? From a contextual standpoint. And now he's like, yeah, I want to go get a second belt too. I want to do this thing. No, man, like fight Calvin Kattar, fight Josh Emmett, like fight Arnold Allen, fight Yair Rodriguez. There are plenty of dudes who are different looks, who are interesting matchups. And because they haven't put a 10-fight win streak together, we're acting as if that's not a valid title challenger. And that's insane to me. Like, I want Volkanovski to do the thing he said he was going to do, which is stay in his weight class, defend his belt against the best challengers that are available. And I want lightweight to have some semblance of clarity established to it before we start mucking around in things.
What do you think, GC? Are we okay to muck around a little bit, considering, especially, let's just say the UFC moves forward with Makhachev Dariush in October. Let's just say, like, no one's going to talk me out of it, not Joe Rogan or anybody else. That's the fight we're doing in October. Can you make a case, especially with the win on July 2nd, that Volkanovski could go up and fight Oliveira for the vacant title?
Now, this is based off the assumption that you just said. If Dana White is adamant that it has to be Makhachev Dariush in October in Abu Dhabi, and you have to find someone to fight Charles Oliveira for the vacant title, then yeah, I think you could make the argument for Alexander Volkanovski if he goes out there and he puts on an impressive, clear win against Max Holloway. Then yeah, I mean, I know he would only have 4 defenses against 3 different opponents, and I do agree with Jed that he needs to do more at 145 before he starts talking about moving up to 155. And I also do agree that if he does move up to 155, it might not be the best decision for him. The size disparity that he would have against Charles Oliveira would be pretty big. We saw it with Israel Adesanya and Jan Blachowicz. I don't think it would go well for him. I think Charles Oliveira would probably beat him if they were to fight. But if the vacant title is there, obviously we mentioned it earlier, Poirier, Gaethje, Chandler, they had their chances at it. Islam and Dariush are fighting each other. Then yeah, you can make the argument that Volk would deserve that title shot at 155, because if he moves up to 155, he's one of the best pound for pound fighters in the world right now. He would deserve the title shot if he goes to that weight class.
He would. Here's the other thing on this though. Like, I think Oliveira presents probably the most winnable fight amongst the top lightweights for him. Let's say I have a great deal of respect for what Alexander Volkanovski is as a fighter, but let's say he goes up and he beats him. Like, tremendous, a career accomplishment. This dude's, he's already Hall of Famer, but that cements it. Great. Because lightweight still won't have clarity, he will then have to fight Islam Makhachev, who will just beat the shit out of him. And so you have now sacrificed your featherweight champion to win a belt, and now he's just going to have to go right back down because Islam Makhachev will beat the shit out of him. Like, clarify lightweight, and then you can start mucking about. But like maybe other people don't. I think it is a very open question whether Islam Makhachev or Charles Oliveira is the best lightweight in the world. And so have that fight first before you start playing around, because otherwise it's just going to be a weird situation where Volk goes up. Okay, he wins the belt. Now he loses the belt. Does he drop back down? Did he vacate the featherweight belt? Now Max has it again. What the hell is going on? It just adds a bunch of uncertainty and clutter when it could just be as simple as, hey man, we want you to defend your belt 2 more times because that's what we expect from champions, to defend their belt. Or you can vacate openly. If you want to move up to lightweight because that's what you want to do, you just have to drop the featherweight title, vacate it. Max can fight whoever for that, and then you make the run to 155 and we'll play the game from there. But, maybe I'm just an old man. Maybe I'm just the old man shouting at the clouds. I liked it when champions would defend their belt like 5 or 6 times before people would be like, I want to see what they do at another weight class.
Maybe you are old, Jed. Maybe you are old and crusty. I mean,
could be.
I mean, this is a chance for the UFC to have some fun here, right? I mean, the only reason I suggest that this could be a thing.
You know what else is fun? Islam Makhachev fighting Charles Oliveira is fun. Do that. That's the fun thing.
Listen, it'd be more fun if he fought Dariush and beat Dariush. Then it's more fun because he got his marquee win. And we're not having conversations on who's next because we know who's next. It's unequivocal who's next. We know who it is.
You know how we wouldn't have those conversations? If they just came out and said, Islam's next. That is also unequivocal. I know they're bad at promoting. I say it all the time. But I'm trying to live in a world where they don't suck at their job. And in that world, you should just say, yeah, you should have come out after Charles Oliveira won and said, yeah, the same way that when they immediately stripped Henry Cejudo and like, Petr Yan is fighting for the belt that Henry no longer has because he is retired before he even withdrew himself from freaking USADA. They should be like, yeah, Charles doesn't have the belt. He is fighting Islam Makhachev. That's the fight we are going to make for the vacant title. Boom.
Dana still wants that freaking Dariush fight.
Why haven't they booked it then is my question.
I don't understand it.
Because it's so far out. It's October because they're going to do it in Abu Dhabi. And by the way, the only reason I knew about it is because Beneil Dariush talked to our own Damon Martin, and that's what he was told. Like, we're planning on rebooking that one and doing it in October.
Man.
And they're going back to Abu Dhabi. You got to do it anywhere else.
Does Dana owe Beneil a favor or something? Did he lose like a big blackjack hand to Beneil? And so he is like pot committed to giving him this fight that nobody cares about because no one does. Like the only reason people care about it is because it will be the thing that Islam gets a title fight. But if you were just like, nah, Islam gets the title fight, I'd be like, cool. This is the one we want to see. The 2 best guys in the world fight.
Maybe what if Dariush won that fight? You're giving him no chance?
He's not going to.
Islam Makhachev would be a favorite over Charles Oliveira.
He already is.
In a fight. He would be. So how do you not give the guy a title shot if the betting? Like he would be a monster favorite over Beneil Dariush. If he goes out and dominates Beneil Dariush, what do we learn from that? It's just a huge waste of time.
It is a waste of time, and that's the other thing. I thought that they were finally going to learn a lesson because Khabib was the best lightweight in the world for like 4 years before they finally put a title on him, but they kept dicking around with Conor and doing all this other weird, stupid stuff instead of just being like, that guy's the best. Let's get him to fight and prove it as quickly as we can. And they're doing that with Khamzat, basically like, oh, that guy's great. We should figure out if he's the best. Let's make that happen. But with Islam, they're like, not. And it just makes no sense to me why we're doing this because as Conor said, I mean, there are odds, Conor. And Islam is now only a -225 favorite over Charles Oliveira. But I mean, that's still over a 2-1 favorite. He was substantially larger until this past weekend. I think he was like -400 until Islam kind of trucked up Justin Gaethje. So like, yeah, just make that fight. That's the fight that obviously should happen. It's not that hard.
And by the way, all the people saying that Oliveira is ducking Islam is just,
I mean, that's
come on now. That's the dumbest thing I've ever heard.
This guy might be the most game fighter in the world right now.
Why are you looking at the ceiling, Jed? Are you one of those people?
He's not ducking him because I don't think professional fighters duck people, but he is making a very very specific decision. And that decision is I would like to fight Connor for a big bag of money. And I don't blame him for that because this is prize fighting. You should make that decision. But in the same way, you and I, Mike, have talked about Colby should be coming out and saying, give me Khamzat. And Usman should be coming out and saying, I want to fight Khamzat Chimaev right now. Like, that's it. If Charles Oliveira really wants to prove there's one lightweight champion, his name is Charles Oliveira, and I'm tired of people disrespecting me, he has done everything he can towards that. But that man has not once said Islam's name, and that's the fastest way to do it. You want to answer all the questions? Islam Makhachev, baby. And nobody will have shit to say to you if you just say, okay, we're doing a vacant, put me and Islam, Abu Dhabi, I'm going to go strangle his ass, and the rest of you can shut up. I am the GOAT. And that's it. And he's not saying that. And I think that is primarily because he just wants the big bag of Conor money. But, you know,
fair point.
He's not saying it. And because also you can do more than one thing at once. Michael Chandler called out like 4 different people. Like, he was just like, I'm just going to call out all these people, even if most of them are stupid and don't make sense. And Oliveira could have easily said, like, I want Conor because and he could be transparent. I want the big bag of money. I want to fight Conor because he is an easy fight and will provide me the most money to take care of my family. But if that's not going to happen, I will strangle Islam Makhachev and the rest of y'all can kick rocks. And he is not saying that. And again, I don't think it's because he's afraid, but I also think fighters largely understand good and bad matchups. And if I had any ability to not fight Islam Makhachev, I damn sure wouldn't, because that's a bad look for me. It's a bad night too.
Well, the last point on Islam is the biggest argument for Islam is there's no like viable alternative. Like, it's not like there is a clear second choice here. You would be kind of forcing a fight if you didn't give it to Islam Makhachev in this situation. The only argument against Makhachev is make him fight Dariush first. And I just don't agree with that.
But there are people who feel like Dariush's resume is better than Makhachev's.
Well,
I mean, it probably is, but also, like, who gives a crap? Like, I don't.
There's a lot of guys
neither guy is a big star. Let's be honest. Neither
guys
guy
with better resumes than Khamzat, and Khamzat jumped right up to Gilbert Burns.
Right.
Islam gets he has Habib there, so it's enough.
He's also 22-1 on a 10-fight win streak in the UFC. It's not like he is.
And his one loss, like, I'm not saying it's a fluke, but it's kind of.
He got starched, bro.
It was kind of a fluke, though. Like, yeah, great shot, but like, if they fought 10 times, do you think that happens more than 3?
Well, we'll wait and see. If Islam beats Oliveira and he doesn't call out Arman Sarukian, then we're going to have some words on BTL the following Thursday. That's for damn sure. How about that? Sure. All right. We have gone through regulation. I don't know if we see a poll. Come on, poll. I don't know who's doing the polls. We're getting all these random things. Who would you pick to win at 155? Oliveira, Volkanovski. It's Oliveira 80-20. But I appreciate you guys at least putting that up for a vote. The point for round 4. Point for round 4 goes to the young man, GC. It's 2-2. We got no sound effects at all. I'm trying to make this happen. Here we go. So now we go to the knockout round. One question will decide it all. Each participant will have 1 minute to answer said question. Once that is done, we will go to the peeps. Hopefully there will be a poll up here. There we go. There's the poll. Who wins? Jed, Connor. Cast your vote now. You can vote. You can do pride rules. You can do round by round. However you scored it. Here's your chance. GC, you are the last person on the panel to pick up a victory here. So you have the champion's prerogative. Do you want to go first, or do you want to pass on over to Jed Meshew?
I'll let Jed go first.
He's going to let Jed go first. Let me pull this spanner because we already asked those questions. Jed, we are in the middle of 2 playoffs in major sports. The NHL has playoffs going on. The NBA has playoffs going on. And it's also kind of we're around award season for those sports as well. So my question, very simply, because I literally had no idea where I was going to go with this until about 8 seconds ago. On this May 12th, 2022, if we were creating a part-time year MVP award for the sport of mixed martial arts through 5 months and change, who is it and why? 1 minute on the clock. Your time starts now.
Oh man. This is tough. I think there's an obvious answer, or maybe two, but I'm going to take one with a little bit of a future projection. I'm going to take Alexander Volkanovski, mainly because we already know that he will be fighting again in July, and it's the fight everyone wants. And that first fight we got of him against Korean Zombie, a dude that we all love, that a legend of the game, is, I said it at the time, still stand by it, as perfect a performance as someone can have. Like he did nothing. It was a flawless victory. If this was Mortal Kombat, he didn't get touched. And it wasn't a flash KO. So yeah, first punch, one shot, one kill, we're done. He beat that ass round after round until he finished him. So that performance, plus the fact that we're going to get another fight of the year contender with Max Holloway, he is going to be my MVP of the year through 5 months.
All right. One man down. We head on over to GC. Remember, we got the poll open. You could vote who wins, Connor or Jed. Connor, same question. 5 months in, who's the front runner for the MVP for the world of mixed martial arts? 1 minute on the clock. Go.
Yeah, I guess I should have gone first myself here because Alexander Volkanovski is who I was going to pick as well. We'll go with someone else though. I'm going to go with another champion from down under. I will be going with Israel Adesanya. He's already got one win under his belt. He's already lining up for a second one against Jared Cannonier in July, and he says he has full intentions to fight 3 or 4 times in 2022. And I think Israel Adesanya, if he gets 4 title defenses, as you guys have been saying, the year of our Lord 2022, I think it'll be hard to argue against him as fighter of the year. I think I did this last time. I think I came up short last time, but I'm okay with that.
Yeah, well, I mean, what a professional job right there. You left us with 10 seconds, actually a little more. I think 15 seconds.
All right, I got time. Number 2, my guy Tom Aspinall.
That would have been my number 2.
He's the man. Watch him go out there and beat Curtis Blades, cash another underdog ticket for us, and then we're talking about him for the heavyweight title.
I was just going to sing the song. If I hadn't gone with Volk, I was just going to sing the song.
Tommy Espinal.
We need Frank here to play it for us. I mean, how can you not love the guy?
Yeah, if he does some sort of remix to that song when he walks out against Curtis Blades, Blades is toast on July 23rd in London. So there you go. You heard the answers. Poll is open. We're going to leave it open for another 45 seconds. Is it Jed or is it Connor who wins after that final round? While we do that, let us waste some time by plugging a bunch of stuff. Like Jed Meshew in GC's podcast, No Bets Barred. You want to potentially make some money on Saturday. This might not be the card to do so, but if you're willing to dabble in and try to make some cashola, Jed and Connor will give their plays and try to guide you into the right direction. And then you got this show, obviously, heck of a morning tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern. We'll go live. We'll have some fun again. We got the weigh-in show, noon Eastern in Las Vegas. AK Lee, I believe I will jump on with him as well. Jose Youngs will be in Vegas. We'll have a preview show not long after that. We got Bellator. And then Saturday, 7 p.m. Eastern, the People's Pre-Fight Show. This might be the latest start for a People's Pre-Fight Show we have ever had in the last couple of years because the prelims started 7:30 Eastern, and then we'll have the post-fight show and all that stuff way later, and the press conference too, since Jose is going to be out there. So drink some coffee, maybe take a nap on Saturday because there's going to be a lot of content, and we're going to be up pretty late. That being said, let us go to the peeps. Let us go and announce the winner. The winner of BTL this week is Jed Meshew's opponent, Connor Burks, 64% of the vote.
Wow.
Gets it done.
Wow, 63. You really got me there. I thought Jed just took my O.
Wow.
He did not.
Wow.
Game show-esque, baby. That's what happens. That was my Ryan Seacrest right there. I was going to go to commercial. But I didn't do that. So GC gets it done. He's now 2-0 on BTL. And GC, you now have 30 seconds to talk about whatever it is you want to talk about, good, bad, different MMA. But I feel like you're going to take this opportunity to call out another member of the MMA fighting staff who has come on the show on multiple occasions and used your name in vain. What would you like to say with these 30 seconds?
Wow, I guess I never saw him use my name in vain on this show because he's just no draw. No one wants to watch him. I mean, that just is what it is. But yeah, it's Jose Youngs. I fully expected him to show up, move me to 2-0 as well, just like Jed just did. But I guess he was scared. I guess he backed out. I gave him the money fight. I gave him everything he's ever dreamed for to come up against me, and he backed out. It's shameful. So Jose Youngs, whenever you're ready, I'll be standing by. Sign the contract. Let's get this done.
There we go. Jed, what did you think of your partner's call out here? And, is this really a loss? Because either way, it's a win for No Bets Barred, right?
Yeah, just trying to get him over so we can get that big fight against Jose, because Jose is easy work, as we know, because I have given him the work countless times on this program. So, we're trying, we've got, like I said, he's the rook, I've been here, been in the game a long time, trying to help the new breed get up, get over, and, stepping stone to great things for No Bets Barred.
There you go. Connor, thank you. Jed, thank you. Casey, thanks for nothing. Thanks for nothing. Nah, enjoy your vacation. Well-deserved. We will see you back here next week. But in the meantime, we will see you tomorrow, 8 a.m. Eastern on Heck of a Morning. For Jed, for Connor, for me, since I'm the producer this week, I am Mike Heck. Back next Thursday. We'll see you once again between the links. Good night, everybody.
Love you guys.
This is the awkward moment where we're still live, but not
We're still live,
really.
huh?